Hi, I'm Tony Mantor. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to Almost Live Nashville, where music, entertainment, and great conversations come together. If you haven't already, tap follow. This way you stay up to date, never missing the great conversation and guests coming your way. Today we're honored to welcome a man whose voice has been heard by millions around the world. Peter Howarth has been the lead singer of the legendary British band the Hollies for over 2 decades, carrying on the legacy of one of rock's most iconic groups while making the role uniquely his own. His story goes far beyond the Hollies. He has shared the stage with Cliff Richard, performed at legendary venues like Madison Square Garden and London's Royal Albert Hall, collaborated with acclaimed musicians including Rick Fenn of 10cc, written hit musicals, and built a career defined by passion, resilience, and an unwavering love of music. In this conversation, Peter shares the childhood moment that sparked his lifelong love of music, the pressure of stepping into the shoes of a legendary frontman, unforgettable moments performing before thousands of fans, and the lessons he's learned from a lifetime on stage. Whether you're a longtime fan of the Hollies or simply love hearing the stories behind extraordinary careers, you're in for a memorable conversation. So settle in as we welcome singer, songwriter, performer, and one of the most respected voices in British music. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, nice to speak to you, Tony.
Yes, same here. When you look back at everything that you've done, what inspired you to pursue music professionally?
The love of music was the first inspiration, I think. I've got very vivid memories of my childhood because the very early part wasn't great. And I remember, because of where we were in the house, which house I was in at the time, under 3 years old, I was about 2. And I remember being next door at my next door neighbour's house, and she let me, it was a lady called June, and she let me play with the record player. And I remember putting the arm onto the record and going, what is that? What does that sound? And that is it. And from then, music's always been a really big part of my life. I think that's it. It's the love of music. It's the instant communication of emotion through sound. And also couple that with when you get a bit older, when I did start to play, and when you play an instrument, apart from having the love of it, when somebody goes, oh, wow, that was great. Oh, well done. You can't buy that reaction.
I love that story. Isn't it funny how one little moment like that, the reactions can change the way that you look at things?
That transmits to when we do gigs, and that's what Bobby Elliott, when I first joined the Hollies, the one thing that he said to me always sticks in my mind. When we did our first gig, that was in 2004 when I joined, 2004, and I was quite nervous, and we went on, it was like Birmingham Symphony Hall, there's 1,300 people, and at the end of the gig, it went well, and everybody's standing up and applauding, and there's a lot of happiness in the room. Bobby, who's now 84, Bob came down and he put his arm around me. He said, look at this people. Look at all these people out here. Look at those happy people. Look at the people in the balconies applauding us. Look at that. He said, this is what we do it for. This is our reward. He says, you cannot buy this. And he's absolutely right. You could get 1,000 people, 1,300 people in a room, pay them all £1,000 each to applaud you after you've just sung your song. But it's not going to be the same, is it? It's not. You have to earn it. And that, for me, is another part. So those two things, having whatever it is that's lacking in my personality, I need somebody to go, oh, well done, Pete. Well done, But that is a big part of doing something, communicating. You move somebody, even if you move somebody to leave the room, they say, I'm off. Or they go, wow, that was great. Or, yeah, it's okay. The point is you're doing your best. You always do your best. If somebody really enjoys it and you've had that moment, I know it's transient, it comes, it goes, but that's why I'm really still here doing it, because 2 reasons: I can't do anything else. And the other thing is I really enjoy it. I really do enjoy performing and singing and playing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned the audience. The audience, when they're into what you're doing, can give you the energy where you just never want to stop. Do you have a memory of an audience that just gave you everything that you was hoping for and created that memory that you just will never forget?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. There's a few things that stick out in my mind. One instance which was incredibly moving for me, it was when I wrote a musical with a guy called Rick Fenn from 10cc. We wrote a musical that we were fortunate. We were commissioned to write it. It went on around the country. It was in the West End of London for a short period of time. It got slagged off in the West End, but it did fantastic everywhere else. Everywhere else, it was going great. Everybody loved it. Birmingham, Manchester, we thought we were going to be multimillionaires, and it was doing really great guns. And unfortunately, it was took into the West End, which was kind of against my wishes, because it wasn't that kind of show. But anyway, point being, after the West End, it went on another tour. It was going to be really its kind of final tour. And all the people that loved that musical It was the last night was in York, about 1992. I was on stage playing, that's another long story, while I got involved in doing it, but I was actually on stage that night playing the parts of the musical. And my whole family was there, my mum, my dad, my brother, my sister, everybody I knew, plus everybody over a period of a year and a half, 2 years that loved that musical, all descended. So the last night of that musical, when you went on stage, everybody was cheering, everybody knew every lyric to every song. And it was an emotional night, and I'll never forget that for a multitude of reasons. But I think that, for me, out of all the things, and I've had some wonderful nights, but that for me was one of the most poignant.
Now, if I remember correctly, you did something with Cliff Richard as well.
When I worked with Cliff Richard, we did what they called the event, which was a special event for him at that time. He was about as big as he was ever at that time. And we did a thing at the event at the old Wembley Stadium. There was like 60,000 people there. And it wasn't for me. I was just stood on stage doing my backing vocals and playing a big guitar. But I remember looking out at all those people going, oh my God, wow, that's amazing. I remember that. And also the other one that I do remember, only for the reason that I didn't ever think I'd actually get to work with these guys or be a part of briefly of what they were doing, was at Madison Square Garden with The Who, and I was just, again, a backing working musician, but stood behind Pete Townsend, right behind him, watching him play. I can't remember what the song was now, but just looking out at Madison Square Garden with Pete Townsend, I remember that as well. I think those three things for different reasons. But I've been fortunate, that I've had a lot of good nights, And nowadays, what's happened, I think, in the last 10, 20 years now, to maybe the last 15 to 20 years, I used to do a lot of sessions, a lot of writing. But now I seem to be back to going out singing for my supper, the lucrative businesses of either jingles or doing sessions in studios that used to use 28, 48 tracks, and they needed people to sing in tune, but now they don't because they've got auto-tune. And everybody's recording in their bedrooms. The business has changed, for good or bad, whatever you like to look at it. That's another whole area we can go into. But for me, it's back to singing for my supper, doing live, which, again, I'm away from home a lot. Again, the benefits are is that I really do love it. Simple as, really.
Now, you've worked with Cliff Richard, plus all these other great musicians.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you learned by working with them that helped you expand and create your journey with the Hollies?
I think whatever job you do, for me, every job you take on as a musician, you always learn something with whatever you do. Every night is a learning experience for me. It's always different, and there's always something to be gained from it. But I think when I first joined Cliff and I started to work with musicians at that time in London, I was I'll be 26, when I was 25, I was in a band and we didn't make the big time, I was just a singer in this band with a little bit of a record deal, but it flopped. But at that time, I remember meeting musicians in London, working as a capacity as a session singer. And when I started working with these singers in London, they're really good, because first I was a guitarist. Then I started to sing, and I started working with these guys. I realized very quickly, the guys I was singing with, when I got an introduction to sing, doing some work, it was just doing a dep for a music. I think it was Time, the musicals were the first deps I did. It was about 86, 87. And I met somebody who said, oh, they're looking for singers. Would you be available? You've got high rock tenor. They need somebody to sing live and blah, blah, blah. So there's a group of 5 or 6 singers in a booth. They don't really have them now because it's all on click track now, but they used to have a booth maybe in between 6 and 8 singers to boost the cast sound underneath the pit. And I met all these singers, these London singers. I went to dep for somebody and I met these guys, and I'm thinking, wow, these guys are really on it. Their tuning was spot on, and their attention to detail, about vibrato. When you sing as a unit, one, I had to match my voice. If I'm singing too loud, you've got to bring it down and blend. And I learned so much just working in a pit situation with 300 other singers, singing harmony. And then when you get on tour, and I was on tour with Cliff, same thing. The standard of the band was outrageous. I mean, they didn't have any click tracks then. It was all live. And the musicians were held up to an astonishingly high level of pride with themselves. Nobody wanted to mess up. If you mess up, you go, oh shit, I'm really sorry. If you made one little mistake. So the backing vocals, the guitarist, the drummer, it was all a frighteningly high standard. When I thought, my God, I'm going to have to pull myself up here and not be the one that's making mistakes, not be the one that's going in slightly out of tune to spoil the harmony. It's that kind of thing you learn on the job, and you learn from people around you. The other thing I learned very quickly is you don't have to be Miles Davis. You don't have to be Oscar Peterson on the piano or Steve Lukather on the guitar. I'd love to be Steve Lukather or Larry Carlton, all these guys. But when you listen to this amount of perfection with these guys, you don't have to be that unless, of course, you join in Steely Dan. Then you have to know your onions and you have to be able to do the gig.
Yeah.
So whatever gig you're doing, it might be, a tour for a small pop band, which is not going to be that demanding musically, maybe. But the most important thing is to be able to do the job, do it right, turn up on time, and don't be, I don't want to say the word, but get on with people, because you're in a group of people that are all just want to have a good time. They don't want any divas. They don't care if you play like Oscar Pitt. All they want you to do is do the job and be nice. Be nice. Don't be a diva, oh my God, oh, I'm so bored of this. No. Enjoy the job, enjoy what you do.
Exactly. Now, when you joined the Hollies, they had some hit records. They had done some really good things.
Yeah.
How did you find that balance of honoring the past while still being yourself so you could integrate with them and create that style?
Yeah, that's a good one. Thing is, I learned when I was playing the part of Orbison, actually, the one thing, when you're taking over, and listen, it's a poison chalice. If you're taking over a singer that's so popular like Allan Clarke was, or if you're, God forbid, you're in bad company, you're taking over from Paul Rodgers or Freddie Mercury, whoever it is, you're never going to satisfy the Allan Clarke fans. I'm not going to be Allan Clarke. I can't be Allan Clarke. I'm always going to not be him. If you're a fan of the Hollies, you like the songs and you like Allan, but you don't mind hearing somebody else sing the song because you love the song, you love the drumming, you love the guitar, and you love the harmonies. There's a lot to the Hollies that isn't just Allan Clarke's voice, although I do admit it's a massive part. It's a big stamp on the sound of the band. All I could do is not mess around with the phrasing of it. You don't do a soul version of He Ain't Heavy, giving it all that. I just sing the notes as Allan would do. He was never a really big flowery singer, giving it all the gesticulations around notes. He's very much a kind of deliver the song like Jackson Browne would, just deliver the song, perfect notes, simplistic notes, and the timing.
I agree. So what was your approach?
Start off with, I did try and match when I was learning the songs, the phrasing, I did try to match, because when people hear a song, if you sing it too far away, if you start pulling, let's say if you go, if I could make a wish, I think I pass, giving it all that, you just sing the song as people, the same phrasing. My timbre of my voice isn't that dissimilar from mine. I am different. I don't sing like Allan Clarke. I'm doing Allan Clarke impersonation, but I always tried not to stomp all over what he worked hard for and what the band created. And then as you do it more and more, it does become more you. I'm over a period of 20 odd years now. When we go out on stage, it's a big family. I've been doing it for 24. Ray and Ian have been there for almost been nearly 40 years now. So we have the same crew, the same backline for the 24 years. We have a lovely time, and it's a joy and a pleasure to go out. But at a short answer to you, because I do ramble on, I do yak a lot, Tony.
That's okay. It's great. This is all part of telling your journey and the story of what you do. So how difficult was it for you? It
was a tough time, because you were always going to get, as soon as you walk out on that stage, oh God, he's terrible. Oh, he's not Allan Clarke. Oh God, he sounds like, I don't know, nothing. You're always going to get that. You can't please all the people all the time.
That's right.
What I don't like is when people judge you without coming and seeing the band.
Totally agree on that.
Originally, when I first went out, 2004. So mobile phones weren't really that advanced. Nowadays, you go to a gig, you get your iPhone out, you give it, you got a great compressor on the mic, it's a great video, so the sounds pretty good. But in those days, I remember singing, I was doing Air That I Breathe something, and I remember seeing this clip, the guys go, this guy's terrible. It's like from the video. Yeah, it did sound terrible, but that's not really my fault. You'll always get people want to bash you up. You always get that.
Now, you've had the opportunity to play with some incredible musicians.
Yeah.
Thinking back of all the musicians that you've had the opportunity to work with, is there one that influenced you on your journey of what you ultimately became and what you do today?
I think I have to say my writing partner, Rick Fenn, who I met. Funny enough, I met Rick. He was the guitarist with 10cc. And I met him in that first pit gig I did. I was talking about doing the session for Time, the musical. There was an orchestra pit under there that had incredible musicians in it. I mean, that band was smoking. I mean, you had Tim Rennick on guitar, who ended up playing with Pink Floyd. I mean, and Tim, I think, was on tour with Pink Floyd. He was on tour, and Rick depth for Tim. And that's where I met Rick in the pit. We're just having in the interval, and we're having a bit of a chat, and he's saying, what are you doing? I said, I'm a singer. And he just said, I need somebody to sing a jingle for me. He said, do you fancy popping round tomorrow? So I went round, I sang a jingle with him, and then 4 days later he said, look, I've got something to write. I've got to write this thing for a film. He said, do you fancy coming and writing it together? And from that moment, I think the next 10, 15 years, we wrote and recorded a lot of stuff together. And as a musician, as a creative person, and just the general kind of wizard that he is, He plays piano. He'll play anything, flute, anything. He'll pick it up and bash a tune out. He's that level of musician that was. I mean, I used to be able to read in the pit. I could sight read a little bit, but I never really advanced to the point where Rick could sit in with anybody, any musician, jazz, if he was in an Irish bar, he'd be able to just go, what playing, and away you go. And he'd be great at improvising around anything because he had that language down. On top of that, somebody who, when we created, he actually was so humble and he listened to what I had to say, and I had to be very careful. If I said to him, if he played something on the piano, I'd go, I'm not sure about that. I had to, because he'd go, really? And he'd change it immediately to try and get something that we both liked, And it was like that when he was producing the musicals, when he was recording them. I had to be very careful what I said, because he'd spend ages doing something and I'd come in, we'd get together the next day and he'd say, I've just put this bass line, I've just put this brass thing on. And I go, I'm not sure, and he'd change it. We worked together and we would create some fantastic stuff that I loved. And as a person and as a musician, I think he influenced, just generally, inspired. And one of those people, when you do have a writing partnership with somebody, some people you write with and it's good, it's okay. But with Rick, it was always really, really special. I don't know why, it just happened, Well, it was just one of those things. We got on well musically and personally.
Now, you've worked in rock, you've worked in theater, you've done acoustical performances.
Yeah.
How have those different experiences influenced your approach as a performer?
I think from the moment I got up when I was about 15, maybe 16, when just got me to play with these, what I thought were old guys at the time, but they're probably about 36. They were playing in a hotel in Blackpool, and I learned the solo for Jambalaya. I was into the Carpets at that time, and I learned all the Tony Peluso solos, and I wanted to be a musician, blah, blah. So you go out, and I remember being so nervous, and you get out there, and it's only in like a lounge in a hotel. So it's not like in front of Carnegie Hall or anything, but when you get up there, and if you're any kind of musician, the first gig you do where you're actually, I found it terrifying. When it came to play the solo of it, I just froze, couldn't move my hands, just completely scared to death. And that is a process. You go from doing that to do all the different kind of gigs. You build up your confidence. Same way with talking to an audience. I remember doing a gig, and about a year or two after that, I worked with another guy. He was an old band singer, like an old big band singer. He played drums, but he sounded like Lou Rawls. He was a very interesting character. But when we were doing this gig as a trio, I was young. I was 17, 18 and working and doing a summer season somewhere. And because I was just playing guitar, and he said, right, next week, you're going to sing a song, and you're going to talk to the audience.
That's a little pressure. So what was the next step?
So I had to learn a song, which I did, and then sing the song, but then introduce it. He sort of pushed me to talk to the audience. And that in itself is a whole different area of learning and expertise. But being a backing singer was great doing that. But when you're at the front of a band, and the Hollies has taught me a lot about that. I've sort of settled into, I was always a bit uncomfortable a bit. I needed a guitar or I needed to hold onto the mic stand, but I learned so much doing that. I learned so much from playing the part of Orbison. You learn so much and you carry that on to whatever it is. There's always something you can take to the next job that you do. Going out and doing solo acoustic stuff. I remember listening to a Sean Colvin song, her version of You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You're Gone, which is on a Sean Colvin, what's the album called? Cover Girl. The album's gone, my brain's gone, Cover Girl. And I heard this about, I don't know. It was a long, long time ago when it came out. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. She plays and sings, and that's something I wanted to do. So in my own spare time, I was trying to work this thing out. And I spent ages trying to work this thing out. And once I'd done it, I thought, well, what am I going to do with it, really? I don't do that kind of thing.
Did that kind of thought process help you with the Hollies?
When I started doing the Hollies, I did a version, the same kind of thing. I wanted to do an acoustic version. I did one of Sandy, which I still play now, and Here I Go Again, which I still play now. And then the Hollies gave me that slot. When I did this version of Here I Go Again, which was like a slow ballad version of their song, I was telling them about it because I kept hearing it as a slow ballad. Because Here I Go Again is a Hollies song, if you know it, it's all about flower to flower when they're kids. Like, they recorded it when they were about 17, 18, which is fine. But when I was singing it in 2004, when I was a lot older, flitting from flower to flower just didn't feel right. Not feel right, but when I was making a cup of tea and I was learning all the songs, I just keep hearing it as this kind of ballad where, it's more of a ballad kind of thing. Did a little version of it, and I was telling Tony and Bob this, and they said, well, play us a bit. I played them a bit, and the next thing I know, I'm on stage on my own in front of Birmingham Symphony Hall, on my own on the stage playing this, and I liked it. Although it was scary, it was really scary. There's something about having a guitar on your own, singing to an audience, and then you get to the point where you just hold it for that little second, just a little bit of drama, and everybody's like quiet with a big PA as well. It's just, I love that. I love it. It's scary, and I've had some scary moments doing that, because if you mess up, it's just you. I remember doing Here I Go Again at the Albert Hall, and so we're doing the Albert Hall with the Hollies. It's the first gig I did with the Hollies at the Albert Hall.
With that being the first time you performed with them at the Albert Hall, how long had you been with them and what happened from there?
And I've been with the Hollies for about maybe 2 years. And we'd done a new album, and it's one of those things where everybody's come to see at the Albert Hall. Everybody's coming. Even Cliff Richard, he came. He knew I was in the Hollies. He was coming. The producer that I worked with, Bill Kenwright, he was going to come to see the Hollies. And everybody I knew in London was going to come and see the Hollies. And the record company's going to come and see the Hollies. So I'm doing a tour and I'm thinking, oh my God, this Royal Albert Hall gig's going to be a nightmare. I was really worried about it. And I remember having dreams, where I'm thinking I was coming off stage and I'm going, oh, great, well done. Everybody's going, well done. And I think, oh my God, it's gone really great. And I'll wake up and go, oh my God, it's next week. Oh my God. And as it happened, the gig was fine. When we get to the Albert Hall, my wife sorted everything out. She sorted out the box for Cliff Richard and Bill Kenwright. And that was all taken care of. And I went out for a run. I used to go for a run before the gig. And I was like, really cool. Went to the sound check, felt absolutely fun. Really looking forward to it. Go out and do the first half. Absolutely fantastic. I'm thinking, wow, I'm at the Albert Hall. This is amazing. I was loving every second of it. Every second. So I got to the second half and all the guys left the stage and I'm doing this Here I Go Again, which is this guitar thing, which I love doing. But when the guys left the stage, I'm looking around, I'm thinking, if I mess this up, and then it's when you get the voices and I get the voices going, look, you're at the Albert, I'm going to know I'm at the Albert Hall, leave me alone, don't mess this up. And eventually I started playing the guitar and I had so much adrenaline, because of a fear. It really ruined it for me. I played it fine, but again, you learn to rein that in. And that's something else I learned that night. And when I knew what was coming, and now you learn from these things.
Absolutely. That's part of growing. How do people find you and follow you on what you're doing?
I don't know. Probably just the Instagram, Facebook. I mean, there's always the Holly stuff on there. Our personal acoustic tours, I'm only doing 6 or 7 days. I stopped doing those for a long time, actually. It was only last year. I started doing them again because there's a lady called Kelly Langhurst she does a part-time promotion for Paul Young and the Pacaminos, a band. She does a little bit. And she just said to me, why don't you do your solo acoustic gigs anymore? So, well, number one, nobody's asked me. The last one I did, I said it went well, but I didn't really make any money. That's not a big thing, but it was a lot of work for not a lot. And she said, well, look, I'll sort some gigs out for you. So I'm doing these 7 next year. I don't do a lot, 6 or 7, mixed with the gigs, Hollies tour and cruises. That's what keeps me going. Yeah.
In closing, can you give us a memory that you will always remember that may not be the biggest thing you've ever done, but it was the most important thing that you did?
Robbing Princess Sherwood, the musical. Writing the musical, getting it on, first night opening, Leatherhead, the writing process of it, 9 months of writing and recording with Rick. I sang everything. We wrote everything together. I sang all the voices to the different characters. We had so much fun writing and recording it. And that period, the creative process was just so magical. I remember the first day we've been commissioned. We wrote one song to Bill to show him we could write this particular scene. And he said, right, write the musical. So I remember going round to his house and we're going, we've got this whole musical to write about Robin Princess Sherwood. Where do we start? What the hell do we do? I remember 15 cups of tea before we both looked at each other and thought, it's not going to write itself, is it? It's not going to write itself. So we go over to the piano and he starts playing something, I start singing something, and boom, we're away. But once you start doing that, I remember going home at night and I go home at night and I'd be lying in bed and all of a sudden you get an idea. Once you open that little gate of creativity, it tends just to pour out. It does pour out. And then likewise, if it's locked, if it's closed, it's very hard to get it flowing again sometimes, or not. I don't know. I've never been such a prolific writer on my own because I don't like writing on my own. It's like pulling my own teeth out. I'm not really a big fan of it. It has happened now and again, but very rarely. That time, writing Robin, recording it, the first year when it was on tour was just... And I wasn't in it then. I was just used to go and watching the cast and being so proud of it and how many people it touched and how much it meant to a lot of people. And that was the biggest thing, I think, in my life, I have to say.
That is always nice when you have something that means that much to you. And, of course, that it touches others as well. Name a song that you love to sing that just never gets old.
He Ain't Heavy. He's got to be a classic song. And I do that in my own version when I do my solo acoustic thing. That version means a lot to me for many reasons. I did it for my good friend Bill Kenwright, who was a producer. Unfortunately, passed away 2 years, which is a big loss for me because he was big in my life. He was really big. I first met Bill Kenwright in 1982 when I was playing guitar in the orchestra pit of Joseph and the Amazing Technical Dream. I played guitar in the pit. And that's where I met my wife. I met my wife in Joseph. We're still together today. So we've been on that arc together. If you don't know Bill. He was a massive producer in the West End and a real character. I remember him phoning me. He was the first person to phone me when I got in the Hollies. I don't know how he found out. I'd literally gone to meet the guys in the afternoon, sang through He Ain't Heavy, and I got home and he phoned me. I don't know how he knew, but he knew. And the other thing was when he phoned me when his mother had passed away and he wanted me to sing He Ain't Heavy, her funeral. That was a long time ago. And I did this version. I did that particular version for that. Unfortunately, heartbreakingly, when he passed away, he wanted me to sing that at his funeral, which was, again, very poignant. Proud to do it, but very sad. That song means, and I say this when I sing it, it means so many different things to so many different people. Of all the songs that I do sing, I think that's probably the most powerful.
That's an incredible story, and I can certainly see why this song means that much to you. So what would you like to leave our audience with that you think that they should know about what's coming up for you?
I'm just going to be carrying on, do what I do. I'm always happy to see people, whether it be with the Hollies, with the front men in Germany. I've had a lot of fun doing that. Or acoustically, if you like a bit of an acoustic, come and see that. But yeah, if you want to come along, please come along and have a lovely evening and let's all have a good time. It'd be nice.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. Thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you for asking me.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thanks again. A sincere thank you to our guests for sharing their journey with us today, and thanks for spending part of your day with us. We hope today's conversation gave you something to take with you. If you haven't already, remember, tap follow so you never miss the great conversations and guests still ahead. You can always reach us at media@plateaumusic.com. Thanks for being part of what we're building here on Almost Live Nashville. We'll see you next time.